All right, let's get started on section 5.5, multiplying and dividing a polynomial by a constant. So please record the learning outcome, which is to model, record, and explain the operations of multiplication and division of polynomial expressions. Pause if you need to get that written down. Okay, so let's start with algebra tiles. And what we're doing today is we're just multiplying a number, a digit, by an expression or a monomial. So if we were going to multiply 2 by 4x or 2 times 4x with algebra tiles, we just have 2 sets of 4x. Now 4x would look like this, so I'm just recreating this picture. Here. No, they wouldn't be negative. Sorry, one sec. They'd be positive. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Got it. And you don't have to draw them side to side. You can draw them up and down. So 4x is right here. 1, 2, 3 sets of 4x. Well, it's 2. It's 2 times 4x. Okay, so it's as simple as just repeating what you just did. Okay, that's what's going on in this picture up here. 2 rows of 4x. And so your answer of 2 times 4x, you can just count them, is, oh boy, what's going on here? 8x. Okay, so let's try example number 1. You need to draw these algebra tiles in your booklet. Find the product of 3 times 2b squared minus 2b plus 1. Now, this is saying find the answer or figure out how much you have when you have 3 sets of 2b squared minus 2b plus 1. That's what it's saying. 3 sets of that. So let's figure out a set of 2b squared. There's 2b squared. Minus 2b will look like this. Plus 1. Okay. So there's a 2b squared minus 2b plus 1. And I need 3 sets of them. There's 2 sets of them. There's 3 sets of them. So 3 sets of 2b squared minus 2b plus 1 is 6b squared minus 6b plus 3. Okay, so here's the 6b squared. There's the negative 6b, and there's the plus 3. So please make sure that you have this diagram in your notes. All right, do the check. So pause here, please. And when you're done, come back. All right, so the check asks us to sketch algebra tiles to multiply and write the product each time. So 3 sets of 4p minus 3. Okay, do a 4p. There's 4p, do minus 3. So there we have 4p minus 3, and we need 3 sets of them, just like the last example we did. Okay, so that's how you would model. With algebra tiles, the answer is 12p minus 9. Okay, so 12 p's minus 9. Second example, 2 sets of negative s squared plus s plus 3. Negative s squared plus s plus 3. Okay, make 2 sets of them. So your answer, hopefully you've done this on your own already, is negative 2s squared plus 2s plus 6. All right, so what if we're not going to use algebra tiles? What if we are going to work symbolically, okay? So example number 2 is using the distributive property to multiply a polynomial by a constant. Okay, so we're not using algebra tiles, we're just going to do the math. So hopefully you've picked up from the previous examples that all we really do is we end up multiplying this number that's in the front by each of the coefficients of our term, okay, because that's what happens. So it's called the distributive property because to distribute means to give it to everybody. So if I was going to distribute pizza in class, it would mean that everyone would get a piece. So the distributive property in math is very, very similar, okay? If I have negative 5 times 4e squared plus 5, or sorry, minus 5e plus 3, it means that I have 5 sets of this, 5 sets of this, and 5 sets of this. So what we do is we distribute that negative 5 through the bracket. That's the terminology we use. We're distributing this negative 5 through. So we have to have negative 5 times 4e squared, negative 5 times 4e squared. We have to have negative 5 times negative 5e. And we have to have negative 5 times that positive 3. Okay, so everything inside needs to be multiplied by negative 5. So negative 5 times 4e squared is negative 20e squared. Negative 5 times negative 5e, negative times negative positive 25e. Negative 5 times 3 equals negative 15. This pen's working weird today. So my answer up here, my answer is negative 20. Oh, I don't know what my pen is doing. Let me start over. It's horrible. One more time. My answer is, I don't know what it's doing, negative 20e squared plus 25e minus 15. Okay, that's the distributive property. Make sure that the thing on outside gets multiplied by everything on the inside. Okay, pause, do the check, and come back, please. All right, so you're back from the check. Please have at least answers to these 4 and be checking them if you got them right. So the first example, we are going to multiply 3 by 7s squared plus 9. So over here it's telling you, make sure that each term in the brackets is multiplied by 3. And then they're saying, okay, they're showing you here that the 3 got multiplied by the 7s squared, and the 3 gets multiplied by the 9. And over on the side here, they're leading you through it. Remember that 3 times 7 is 21, 3 times 9 is 27. So 3 times 7, 21s squared, 3 times 9, 27. Okay. B says make sure you multiply each term in the brackets by negative 4. So make sure that we distribute that negative 4 to each part of the bracket. So we're going to have negative 4 times 5e squared. And we're going to have negative 4 times negative 8e. That's the distributing part. And then you just do the multiplying. Negative 4 times 5e is negative 20e squared. And negative 4 times negative 8e is positive 32e. Third example, make sure that negative 5 gets distributed. So I'm going to have negative 5 times negative 2d squared. I have negative 5 times negative 3d. And I have negative 5 times positive 6. Okay, and then just do the math. Negative 5 times negative 2d squared is positive 10d squared. Negative 5 times negative 3d is positive 15d. Negative 5 times 6, negative 30. Okay, last one. Okay, this one I'm not going to write it out. I'm going to say it out loud, and I'm going to write down my answer. This time, I'm just going to go 7 times 6y squared. I'm not going to write down 7 times 6y squared. I'm going to write down the answer of 7 times 6y squared, which is 42y squared, because 6 times 7 is 42. 7 times negative 8, y is negative 56. Y. 7 times 9, positive 63. So how'd you do on that check? Did you get them all right? Hope so. Okay, moving on. We're going to divide now. So it says we can use algebra tiles to divide a polynomial by a constant. There's two parts to the constant. It doesn't have a variable attached to it, so that's why it's a constant. So it says we can divide negative 8x divided by 2 because it's saying arrange 8 dark rectangles into 2 equal rows. Okay, so they've got negative 8 divided in 2 rows, or I'm showing you down here. But what I want to do is separate them into 2 clearly separate rows. Okay, so I started with 8 negative squares. Remember that the negative squares are dark. So I started with these that were dark, and I have 8 of them. And if I'm going to divide them into 2 equal rows, well, I just divide them like this, and my answer is each row has 4 dark ones. My answer is negative 4x. So moving on to example 3, then it says find the quotient of 6s minus 9 divided by 3. So let's build 6s. 3, 4. They don't have to touch. Doesn't matter. 5, 6, 6s. Over a little bit there. Okay, there's 6s minus 9. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to cheat a little bit. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, good. So there's 6s minus 9, and we got to divide them into 3 equal rows or 3 equal sets. So if we have to divide them into 3 equal sets, each of the sets gets 2 of these. Each of the sets gets 3 of these, so that it's even. Okay, so when I took the 6s minus 9 and I divided it by 3, in the end, I ended up with 2s minus 3. Okay, so go ahead, pause right here, do the check with the algebra tiles, please, and then see if you have the right answer. All right, so we're going to go ahead and sketch the algebra tiles and write the quotient each time means write the answer. So 3g squared, that's positive. So 1, 2, 3. 3g squared plus 12g. I'm sorry you got to draw so many of those squares. Probably getting sick of it, aren't you? And especially because I can cheat. Here. 4, 8, and then look what I've done. I kind of already did the dividing by 3, haven't I? So I've got 3 positive g's squareds. I have 12g. Hopefully you can easily see that if I were to divide them into 3 separate groups, there's one group, there's another, and there's the third. So what's my answer? G squared plus 4. All right, B. Negative 4b squared. Oops, not that one. This. 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 4b squared plus 6. 1, 2, 3. So there. Cheating. Okay. Negative 4b squared plus 6 divided into 2. Same, divided into 2 separate equal groups. There's one. There's the other. So when negative 4b squared plus 6 is divided into 2 separate groups, I have negative 2b squared plus 3. All right, C, 4s squared. 2, 3, 4. 4s squared minus 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 8. 1, 2. Oops. Okay. Now, 4s squared minus 4s plus 8 divided into 4 equal groups. Well, I have 4 of these, so each of my groups is going to get one of them. I have to divide these by 4. Clearly, each group is going to get one of those too. And then I've got 8 of these, so each of the group has to get 2 of them. So, what's my answer then? My answer is s squared minus s plus 2. Each of my 4 groups, each got the same thing. They each have an s squared. They have a minus s or minus 1s, and they have a plus 2. Last one, negative 6t squared. I should have copied. Negative 6t squared plus 9t. 2, 3. Oh, this one's no fun to draw, isn't it? Okay, so there's my positive 9t minus 9. 1, 2, 3. Do it again. So I'm sure you can already see the answer because I'm dividing it into 3 equal groups. My groups that are equal are here. Second group, third group. So, what's the answer? Negative 2t squared plus 3t minus 3. Okay, enough of that. How about when algebra tiles are not available? Thank goodness. Or when the divisor is negative. Okay. We can't use algebra tiles when the divisor is negative because that doesn't really make sense. How do we put something into negative 2 equal groups? That doesn't really fit. So if we don't have to use algebra tiles or when the divisor is negative, we need to be able to do it mathematically, okay? And they're reminding you here that if you have 8x divided by 4, you can write it as a fraction. So it means the same thing. Let's get off this highlighter. 8x divided by 4 is the same thing as 8x over 4. And then it says you can write the fraction as a product and then simplify each fraction. So they're saying that 8x over 4 is the same as 8/4. So just take the number part. It's the same as 8/4 times x. Well, 8 over 4 is 2, and 2 times x is just 2x. Okay, so when you're dividing numbers, you can only divide the coefficients. You can't divide x by 4 because you don't know what it is. So it just still sits there and waits because it can't really do anything. All right, so the first question here is negative 9v squared plus 6 over 3. So what's important for you to remember is that all the parts on top are being divided by 3. It's not just the negative 9v squared, it's both parts. So it's important when you first draw it to separate this 3 into both parts. So my question becomes negative 9v squared over 3 and then plus 6 over 3. You need to remember that each of the parts need to be divided by 3. Okay? And then in my first fraction, I can only divide the numbers by numbers. I don't know what v is. I can't divide it by 3, so nothing happens to the v squared. It's just still sitting there being v squared. But I certainly know that negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. Okay, so this part becomes the negative 3. The v squared just sits there. The plus sign, 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay, so separate that denominator into both of the terms of the binomial or the polynomial, whichever one you're doing. So please go ahead and try the check and then come back and make sure that you got it right. All right, so 12r squared plus 8 divided by 4. They said write as the sum of two fractions with the denominator of 4, so they're doing what I said before. Just make sure you divide it into two separate fractions. So this part has to be divided by 4, and this part is divided by 4. And then this part, they're just saying it's only the 12 divided by 4 part you can do, and that's being multiplied by the r squared. And then 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 3 times r squared is 3r squared plus 2. B, make sure everything gets divided by 6 separately. Okay, I'm going to skip this step, and I'm going to do them each individually. Okay, remember the v squared can't be divided by the 6. So I'm going to go 18 divided by 6 is 3 with the v squared waiting. Here I have negative 6 divided by 6 is negative 1. So you can write negative 1 and then you've got that v. You could have easily just written negative v because you don't write the 1s normally, but it's okay to do it. And then 12 divided by 6 is 2. And I write plus 2 because it's a positive 2. Notice here I didn't write this plus because I'm not going to write plus minus. A plus minus is just negative. Okay, C, divide them into their two separate fractions. Negative 4e squared over 2 minus 8e over 2. You could just do the number parts. So negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2 with that e squared. And then minus 8 over 2 is 4 with that e just sitting there. Okay, so that the denominators only divide with the coefficients on the top. And that's the lesson 5.5. So please go on and try your online quiz after you have done your practice.